Hey everyone, today we're going to be interviewing Christopher Leiva. I promise he's not related to me. He is a brother from another mother though, and he's going to tell us all his secrets on how he became a top agent. Let's see what he has to say. Welcome everyone to Industry Icons. Today I'm joined with the one and only Christopher Leiva. No relation, but we do call each other cousins, and it's a funny story that goes along with that. But Christopher, can you please just tell us a little bit about your background and your history in real estate?
Yeah, sure. So I've been doing real estate for 18 years now.
Yeah.
Started off doing it part-time. I was married very young, 21 years old. I was married, 2 little girls, bought my first house, and always had the desire to do real estate. Started doing it part-time because I always had that fear about not having a paycheck every single week.
Yeah.
And after about 2.5 years of doing it part-time, finally my 3rd year in, 6 months into the year, I matched my salary that I made at my full-time job. So my wife and I decided that, you know what, it's time to dedicate full-time to the real estate. And I think the rest is history.
What were you doing prior to real estate? What kind of work were you doing?
So I was I started at an entry level at a managed care company. And applied for the sales position 6 times. 6 times. 5 times I was told no. You don't got the college degree. You don't got the skills. You don't have the knowledge of the company. And on the 6th interview, the guy says, man, you're just not going to back down. So they gave me the opportunity.
Nice.
And the sales position was to contract medical facilities, MRI centers throughout the country and contract them into our network. So I was assigned the state of Ohio.
Okay.
They told me that they didn't expect me to contract my first medical facility for about 90 days. And in 30 days, I booked a medical facility that had a total of 5 locations.
Okay.
You know, so these were the days before, you know, smartphones.
Yeah. So
I think I had one of those disposable camera, and I went up to my manager. I said, take a picture of me with all these contracts. So that's what I did. I did sales with them.
That's awesome. So you were always gravitating to sales, right? It's something about you that was kind of very entrepreneurial from day one?
I think so, definitely.
And did somebody put a bug in your ear when it came to real estate, or was it just something that kind of like was
Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, the movie.
I remember. That was one of my favorites.
So
tell me about that.
I remember sitting at home watching the movie and, you know, the neighborhood that he lived in, and then hearing that, oh, his mom was out showing houses, or she was coming from an appointment or a closing.
Yeah, that's right.
And then the real estate, you know, it just got in my head.
That's
and
funny,
I think
man.
ever since then.
Wow. So then, what was your first year like in real estate? When you first joined, you were part-time, you said, because obviously you needed the security.
Right.
What did that feel like? Was that like a huge accomplishment for you? Was it scary?
So, you know, the company that I started off with, they required a 30-day training program. And since I had my full-time job, I couldn't do it right away. So I accumulated, you know, sick days, vacation time, and I told my wife, we're not going anywhere. I'm going to just go and bang out this training course. And I did it in less than 30 days because I had no choice.
Yeah.
So that's how I got kind of introduced to the whole foundation of real estate.
Good. But something eventually clicked, right? Year 3, you started to really take off. What got you to the point where you could leave a good paying job? I'm sure you were doing well with the sales position. But what was it that kind of like put you over the top where in 6 months you made more than what you did at your other job? I'd
have to say it was my mentor. You know, someone who I saw as the real estate guy in the community. He reached out, he left me a voicemail message asking me if I was prepared to take it to the next level. And I gave him a call, and I just absorbed everything that he said, you know, going on appointments with him. I think his wife was probably mad at me because I would call him at 10 o'clock at night saying, hey, I've got a question. What do I do in this situation? But he always made himself readily available to me, gave me a lot of support. And I think that's what really catapulted me to the next level.
So how important do you think that is for an agent to have? God, is it everything?
It's extremely important. You know, the environment that you put yourself in and the people that you surround yourself in. So when I joined this brokerage firm, I was a bit intimidated because I was surrounded by top guns,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Big guys.
but it rubs off.
Mhm.
You know, you surround yourself around successful people, and success is going to rub off.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You can enjoy your coffee, man. I know you're trying to sip on your coffee, but I remember my first year, I really didn't have much guidance at all, and it was rough. It was like exactly like you said. The only difference with me was that I didn't have the kids to maintain back then. It was just me and my apartment and my overhead expenses. And my first year was rough, but I went into it full time, and I kept the part time that I had before, which was cutting hair. So I'd work my ass off all day in real estate and come home, cut hair to midnight, and then do it again the next day, and just day in and day out. First year, just tried to figure everything out. And then the next year, I went to a real estate company where there actually was someone that was active in real estate and I could learn from him. And I picked up a lot of great things, and that year is what really catapulted me in real estate. I became the top producer that year, and I knew it was meant for me. But you know, if it wasn't for that, I think I probably would have dropped out if I had a second year exactly like my first year. Even though I was passionate about it, but sooner or later, you know, you gotta make things work.
It's definitely tough. While I was doing it part-time, I realized that buyers consumed a lot of my time.
Oh yeah.
And I didn't have it. I didn't have the time available to dedicate to the buyers because I was at a 9 to 5.
Mm-hmm.
So I quickly realized that I needed to become a very powerful listing agent.
Mm-hmm.
So this is back before the do not call registry and
Yeah.
all that. So I would rush home from my full-time at 5 o'clock, get to the office by 5:30, 6 o'clock,
Mm-hmm.
open up the phone book, pick a street,
Start
and
calling.
just start calling. You know, and back then the conversation was, hey, this is Christopher, market values are up. Have you ever considered knowing the value of your home?
Mm-hmm.
As simple as that.
Yeah.
First person that said yes, I hung up the phone and said, oh shit.
I don't know what to say now.
And I looked back at my broker, and my broker said, what happened? He said yes. Call him back. So I called him back. I was like, I'm sorry, sir. We got disconnected.
Mm-hmm.
That was my first listing appointment
Nice.
that I got.
That's awesome. That
Yeah.
must have been a great feeling.
Sure was.
Yeah. So fast forward now, what lessons have you learned in real estate since then
Ooh.
that you think people should learn if they're thinking about getting in this business or they're new and they need some guidance from a guru like yourself?
God first, then your family, and then business. And that's a very difficult formula to balance because oftentimes we've got so much business
Mhm.
that, you know, we put the things that are important
Last.
second
Yeah.
or last.
Mhm.
But if you know, do your best to hold on to those values and to that formula, everything else is always going to fall into place.
How'd you figure that out?
The hard way. The hard
In
way.
balance?
Yeah, definitely. Achieving a lot of success at a young age definitely went to my head.
Mm-hmm.
Life's got an interesting way of throwing you down on your knees to make you realize that what's important.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Being humbled is
Being
important.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's
it's
it
important.
right there.
And you know what
Being humble.
I often say, and you might have heard this before too, is that I believe that the 2007, 2009 crash, that period, I think that's the best thing that could have happened to anyone in real estate.
Oh,
because
yeah.
we were flying high on
We
stuff
sure
that
were.
was not real. And we got a course correction, almost left the business, but what that taught us is that doing good times, make smart moves. Not doing good times, act like they're always going to be good times and you just spend like crazy and not have any really recourse for anything you're doing. So I took a lot away from that crash. It was the best teacher I think I could have ever had.
I can agree with you. You know, I was part of a real estate coaching group for, 2004, 5, and 6. And in one of those business trips, we traveled to a state where we learned all about short sales and pre-foreclosures.
Yeah.
You know, and back then, 2005, 2006, I was already coming across people that were upside down in equity.
Mm-hmm.
I was walking away from the listing appointment.
Yeah.
I said, I'm sorry, there's nothing that I can do to help you. And when I learned all about a bank willing to take less than what was owed to them,
That was a game changer.
and I'm hearing a loss mitigator explain to me that this is something that's readily available for anyone in a financial hardship, the light bulb went off.
Yeah.
And got back to New Jersey. I've got to say I feel very much responsible for introducing short sales to the Morris County area. So
I believe it.
started in 2006, learned the hard way, came across all kinds of obstacles and challenges. 2007, had a nice system. 2008, the crash of the real estate market was my biggest year
Mm-hmm.
in my real estate career.
Yeah, you were prepared.
I excelled as I was top 7 in the state of New Jersey
Mm-hmm.
out of the whole RE/MAX franchise.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still trying hard to match a year like that. But like you said, in those difficult times, there's so much to be learned that you can't learn in school. You can't learn that in a textbook.
Absolutely. Life is the best teacher.
Exactly.
That's awesome. So tell me about your average day now. What does Christopher Leiva do to continue being a top producer, a top earner, a top leader? What do you do now?
So my day kind of consists of, I'm a morning guy, so I'm up by 4 o'clock, and I'll try to read or watch a YouTube inspirational video.
You watch one of our videos, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely. By 5 o'clock, I'm at the gym. By 6:37, I'm having breakfast. I'm in the office by 8 o'clock, and I'm on the phone.
Nice.
My prospecting time is what I feel is the most valuable part of my day. Anytime that I don't dedicate 2-3 hours to just prospecting, it doesn't matter how busy I am, how much I'm running around, I'll come home at the end of the day and be like, I feel like I didn't do anything today.
Wow, we're the same people.
So the prospecting time, you know, it's in my calendar, like an appointment. I want no interruptions, because there's, you know, being busy doesn't mean you're going to be productive. And to me, that's one of the worst feelings, where I'm running around. I feel like a fireman just putting fires out all day.
Just doing busy work.
Yeah.
That's not good. So you're a team lead as well, right? You have people you mentor now?
That's correct.
Yeah, tell me how you came about that.
I can't say, Louis, that I ever sought out to build a team. I've been given the opportunity where agents were just kind of coming to me, asking me questions and kind of looking for that mentorship. And it was from that I decided I might as well build a team. So I went ahead and did so. We're a team of 7 agents.
Nice.
We've got about 3 administrative people. My goal is to focus on these 7 agents and make them top guns.
Yeah.
You know, I've learned the hard way that bigger isn't necessarily better.
Yeah.
Lean and mean is the way to go.
Less is more.
Keeping your expenses low and your production high.
Yes.
That's the name of the game.
How do you keep your agents focused? Because I mean, I think that's one of the biggest things, that agents lose motivation and they kind of go and see a squirrel and they go that way. Like, what do you do?
So I continuously educating, and it's something that I struggle with, making sure that we do sales meetings, you know, keeping everyone on the same page, trying to share the vision with everyone and reminding them of what the goal is. I think that's very important. Because as a new agent, I remember how very easily you can get lost in this industry. You've got all kinds of people trying to sell you sales products and lead generation systems, and before you know it, you spend all this money, you haven't even made a commission check yet.
Yeah, exactly. They would rather take the easy switch or take that magic pill than actually put it into work, because really at the end of the day, that's really what it is.
So I think that's where I find myself, where I remind the agents on what are the important things to focus on. Try to weed out all the other stuff so that we can focus on the things that are dollar productive. As
a team, do you guys have a goal that you set? Do you have monthly goals? Do you have like a digit as far as units or volume? What do you guys kind of measure?
We've got a yearly goal that we try to break down into quarterly goals, monthly goals, and which should be reflective of what the day looks like.
Yeah. So would you like to share that with the audience so they can get inspired by it or kind of push themselves?
Yeah. So, you know, our goal for 2020 is 200 transactions.
200 transactions. Okay.
Yep. You know, you figure if average commission of 5,000, that's $1 million right there.
Yeah. So that's about 15 to 18 transactions a month. That's good, man.
Yep.
That's awesome. And keep the overhead low, because that's key. You know, a lot of teams grow too fast and they just start hiring too fast because they had a good month.
Right.
You know, that kind of catches up to you once in a while.
Quick to fire, slow to hire.
Yeah.
That was the term that I heard at a coaching program one time.
Yeah.
We did 149 transactions last year.
Okay.
So if we can bust through that, hit that 200.
Absolutely.
You know, that's what we want to do.
All right. My final question for you is, what do you feel is the biggest, I wouldn't call it a problem, but what do you think is the biggest thing right now that can disrupt the real estate industry as we know it?
Well, I've got to say it, this legislation that they're trying to pass.
I'm glad you brought it up.
Right, where they want to change how independent contractors are paid. They want to make us W-2 employees, and I think, you know, the industry's got to collectively come together and take a stance against this. So, you know, I've gone ahead and voted, and I've spread the word on
Yeah, we did
making
too.
sure that you vote, because it's...
Yeah, actually, when we're done with this interview, you and I are going to do an infomercial on getting
All right.
everyone to vote. Okay?
Definitely, man, we got to.
No, but it's important. But what do you think that would mean to the real estate industry? You think 90% of the agents would drop out, the other 10% would work for big firms? What do you think is the outcome of something like that if they do make that law?
A lot of people see the shine, but they don't see the grind.
Mm-hmm.
The real estate business is an expensive business.
Yeah.
It costs a lot to run this business. So, you know, changing to a W-2, we won't have the ability of writing off legitimate expenses
Mm-hmm.
that it takes to run a real estate business. So I just don't think that that's going to be helpful, and I'm really not sure how we would go about
I
that.
think it's going to overcomplicate things.
Right.
There was one point where they said that we'll tax agents at the closing table. And I was totally fine with that, kind of like almost like a bulk sale type of thing. And I was okay with that because a lot of agents do get themselves in trouble with taxes. You know, so I said, all right, take taxes at the closing. That way at the end of the year, agents aren't behind. Maybe they overpaid and they can get a refund. And I was cool with that. But what they're doing now, I feel there's a lot of big Wall Street money and private capital that's behind this, because there are real estate companies now that's their model.
Right.
And they want to kind of do away with their competition.
Yeah.
And by doing this, they're going to do that. So it'll be a lot easier for them to kind of now take over market share. And New Jersey is it would be harder to do it in Manhattan because Manhattan is Manhattan, and you know they have their own way of doing business. But to do it in New Jersey, if they can get away with it here, they can get away with it pretty much anywhere.
Right.
You know, it's a big populated state.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I'm not in favor of it too. So well, hopefully that doesn't happen, and we can still continue doing business as usual. Even though I'm big on technology, I'm big on innovation. I think the real estate industry is due for a lot of new tech and things of that nature, and I'm okay with that. But what I'm not okay with is someone coming from outside the industry and trying to disrupt our industry for their benefit, when we've been the ones that have been making the economy better, moving things along, helping families. At the end of the day, that's what we do.
Exactly.
Yeah. So Christopher, how can someone find you if they need your services or they have questions for the... Oh wait, before we get there. So funny story. We're not related, right? We're not. But there was a time in which I used to call in for showings. I used to call showing time, or I forget what it was back then, or 1-800-SHOWINGS, or I forget what it was. And I would call and they would say, what's your name? And I would say, oh no, what's your last name? I think they would say first. And I'd say, Leiva, okay? Louis or Christopher? And I'm like, who is this Christopher guy? I would call and call. We'd call, make appointments all the time. Louis or Christopher? And I'd even beat them to it sometimes. I'd say, it's not Christopher, it's Louis. I would tell them before they even ask. And I'm like, one day I got to meet this Christopher guy. So I looked you up. I think it was on Instagram or Twitter or something. I sent you a message. And I don't think you were on social media that often, so you never saw it. But a couple years fast forward, I don't know how we crossed paths, but we finally met. And I'm like, dude, you don't know how long I've been stalking you for.
So, if I could share my story, I used to, when you're in GSMLS and you pull up agent roster to pull up your reference number.
Mm-hmm.
So Louis Leiva would come up. That's my father's name.
Oh, that's funny.
And I'm like, what? So I called you one time, and this is like maybe 15 years ago. And I was like, is your nationality from Chile by any chance? And you're like, no. I was like, oh, my father's name is Louis Leiva. We got the same last name. So when we did finally meet, and I shared, my story about short sales and how I wanted to start getting involved with the investment part of it, going to the sheriff sales and whatnot. And, that's how we met. You shared your insight and your knowledge with that, and I've been involved. That was a new pillar in our business that we created. Yeah,
and you've done well. You've killed it over there in Morris County.
So it's doing so many short sales. I think since 2006, I've closed on over 450 short sales. I'm the poster boy for short sales in Morris County. And I had relationships with a lot of investors that would, buy these short sales, renovate them, and then put them back on the market to sell. And there were some situations where, for whatever reason, the bank wouldn't approve the short sale. And it was going to go off for the sheriff's sale. And I would tell my investors, hey, man, you've been in the property already.
Go get it.
You've got the title work. Go to the sheriff's sale, buy it. Come back, give me the listing. And they'd say, Chris, we would love to do that, but, we've got a relationship with competitors of mine that we buy stuff at the sheriff's sales. And it happened so many times that, one day I got frustrated and I said, look, man, I'm going to start preparing myself to go to these sheriff sales. And his response to me says, nobody is competing with these guys at the sheriff sales who've got it on lock. And my response was, well, I don't know if I could win a fight until I start swinging.
Yeah.
And I'm letting you know now, I'm going to start swinging. So that was 2 years ago. And that first year, we acquired 12 properties at the sheriff sales. You know, I don't know how many we did the second year, but it's definitely a new division that in the business that I'm spending a lot of time on. So it's just one of those stories that you've got to try, you've got to give it your all.
Yeah.
Because if you don't try, you never know you're going to do it. And there's a lot of people that are on top always wanting to push you away and say, you can't do it, you don't have the ability, you don't have the capital. But David beat Goliath, right?
Of course, man.
So,
I see it, bro. You know, anyone could do anything. It's that first step.
Exactly.
That's the hardest. And you can, if you've told yourself that you can, you've already lost. But you're looking at it as like, why can't I? Like, who are these guys? They bleed red, put on their pants one leg at a time. I'm going to go and do the same thing. Well, not the same thing, but maybe find a better way, right? Be more innovative.
Exactly.
So I love it, man. I love when somebody tells me I can't, because that's when I will.
Exactly.
Yeah, so we're definitely, we must be related somewhere down that
Somewhere,
gene pool,
bro.
man.
Leiva, Leiva.
That's awesome. Well, like I was saying earlier, man, how can someone get in contact with you if they want to buy a house, list a property, want to get more information on, you know, how they can maybe jump on your team?
Homesbychristophergroup.com. Google my name, the info's the same.
Nice, brother. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today,
Thank
brother.
you, brother, for the invitation.
You're awesome. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. See you next time.